Hey, it's Don the Auction Professor. I thought I've had some questions about some of the artwork we do, and it's artwork season again for us. I've got my Halloween running really quickly here. We've got designs already done. We're doing some touch-ups and some changes to the original designs we've got. I'm going to show maybe some time-lapse videos on some of the postcard designs we've done this year, some of the actual artwork as we're doing them. Probably touch base on those too. What we do is I've done illustrations for years. I used to do illustrations and mural work for the Walt Disney Company. In Florida, I did the Magic Kingdom. I've got some major paintings that cover walls in the Magic Kingdom tunnel system. If you take the behind-the-scenes tour, you can see my artwork there. I've also painted for the McDonald's Corp International. If you ever get to Florida, the iDrive McDonald's, which at the time when I did that was the world's largest, has mural work. I worked for another person, I won't mention her name, but it was a lady, and I did all the fanciful work for her. I did the characters and, such forth. I did the lobby work in that McDonald's. I've done a lot of hotels, Sheraton. I've done mural work and such forth there. I used to do homes. I've done things for Disney, as I said. I did some concept work for a remote control boat ride for taking over the 20,000 Leagues pool there too. I've done some stickers. I've done some artwork for some of the ride work itself too. And from that point I've springboxed and we've done postcards and things for years. I've been in magazines. I've been in some many newspapers. I've been in lots of national shows, and I did the West Palm show in West Palm, Florida. I did the Festival of the Masters before at Disney, and things along that line. I did a lot of the Lake County shows in Florida, the national shows, and I've sold a lot of work in the past. These days I don't do as much. I used to do a lot of portraits, but these days I'll do artwork for the seasonals. And what we started off doing was I do from local businesses. I design a postcard, and what I first did is I designed a couple postcards just out of scratch, didn't talk to anybody, had no clue if I could even sell them, and threw on some way to add. I had like a coverall, like a piece of plastic with the local store's name on it, and I went around and sought out businesses that would be interested in buying these prior to me printing them. I did a mock-up that I printed here at the house and showed them what it would look like, and I had it in a binder so they couldn't really tell, and then I showed samples of what the cardstock would feel like and the whole works, which I literally got from the companies that print for free. They'll send you out a packet to show you examples of the paper quality you can get. And I found businesses that would do this. They would advertise. I would print their advertisements on the back with my name and such forth on them, and they would hand them out for Halloween, and it would be an advertisement for them. Plus, it had my Halloween artwork on the front, and that's where I started doing this type of business. We've done 27 or 28 cards. I kind of lost track over the years of doing this, but now we decided, well, why don't I put some on eBay? And we didn't have luck with all the cards. Some of the cards are very, very sporadic or sell very slowly. But we've hit on some very good cards. A couple a year we'll get that start selling now on eBay where we've made hundreds of dollars. And what we do too, I've got a little clientele base, and I'll literally do a design, a painting, a little illustration, and then from there I'll pass that around and see who's interested in it before I ever print it. That way I've already got my money back. Printing houses for the postcards, we print the standard size 3.5 by 5.5. That is the vintage style postcard size that'll fit in any postcard collector's collection. It'll fit in any of the top loaders, any of the sleeves. That's the size of card you want. The 4x6s or some of the oddball sizes are newer cards, and that's not what most people collect. If you want to be able to sell certain things, you've got to feel for the market and know how the market works. I've been selling Halloween cards that were made in the 1910 era for years, and maybe even a couple decades, here and there. But that's what sells, so that's what we wanted to steer it towards. Once we decided we're going to put these on eBay too. And what I've come up with is these are my cards. These are designs that I've done. Anthropomorphic I've talked about. They sell in vintage postcards, so I wanted to steer towards that. But these are the postcards. This is just a few of the samples. These are designs from last year. Last year we did almost $1,200 in our own postcards, and I have less than, I think the total we have into printing costs is $126. But for $20 or less, you can have 100 postcards of your artwork printed in good quality cards. You just have to hunt around. I'm not going to announce the name of a printer, over line, because I'm not trying to promote somebody specifically, but if somebody's interested privately in asking, I might give that information out. I've used the same printer now for years, well, for 2 years or 3 years almost now, but these are my cards again. This one here is my biggest seller. This actually is the item that I had more views on and more watchers than any other item I've had up for probably 7 months. That was that way. And I sell one of these, geez, at least one of these a week, every single week since I've made this card. The first week I put it up, I sold many of these. I sell them on Amazon too as well, but this is just some of the items that we sell. I've got different versions of it. It's from a hand-painted illustration. I do all kinds of graphical work too. This one was done and I sold these locally here. Pretty much right off the bat I got my money back off. The day one I had these in the house. And that's what you literally want to do. These will sell on Etsy. They will sell on sci-fi, vintage, fantasy sites online as well too. But you can get big bunches of your own artwork printed fairly reasonable these days. And we do make an additional good sum of money. This is actually a separate company. We have a separate business for this. It's a different named company, the whole works. We've got a couple companies that do this. One we do for the resins we do, for model kits and such forth, and then we do another one for the printed artwork. And again, printed artwork, you don't just have to be able to sell it on eBay. Printed artwork can sell on Amazon. It can sell on Etsy all the time, and you can sell it locally too. You just have to think outside the box again. We were able to get ground locally because no one thought of it. There was no one going around to the local businesses. We hit like the head shops, the Tropic Stops and stuff like that in the mall. You can hit Spencer's up too sometimes. We'll take you in. There's a lot of local shops that sell things that you can do. In Florida, I did some paintings of poison dart and tropical forest frogs, and I sold 3 different postcards of that out constantly. I would run out of those. I sold them for almost 3 years before I finally decided to stop selling those, just because of the hassle to transport and fees and issues with having to handle the sales from a long distance. I don't go to Florida anymore, and I hadn't anybody locally who could handle some of the business for those, so it was something I just ended up dropping. I might be putting and printing some new ones and having them put on eBay, but for us it was a local market. They sold in all the seashell shops in Florida, all across the coast. We had them in dozens of stores, the frog paintings. They were oil paintings. And I have my wall still. I still have the originals. I own the rights to everything that I have. Sometimes I do sell original pieces of work, but I do not sell out the rights, and that's included in any sales that I do for those items. It's just for the original. No rights for reproduction are ever given away to anything. For the most part, there's 1 or 2 cases where I have something in a magazine where the magazine owns the rights to that piece, but that's just the way it works. Or I have a commissioned piece of work where somebody might wanted the originals. Of course, I get a lot more money for something when they buy the incomplete rights for it. It's sometimes 10 times as much as I would get for the piece of work itself. But on these are just simpleton, stylized, like vintage. I've set up a whole town name for this, and these are just 4s. Again, I've got 20 some odd different designs. I've got boxes of them on some shelves back here on the other side. I buy them in 100 counts. I don't print mass quantities. I print lower quantities, so they're considered collectibles. I sign them or draw an illustration on the back, and they do sell very well. Again, I sell them weekly. A couple of my cards sell every single week. Every single week since I did them. They're not huge, high dollar price items, but they don't need to be. You're talking for 20 bucks, I can get 100 cards. I sell sets of sometimes cards for 20 and 30 bucks a card. Again, when you first list them, you list them at a higher price, and as they're being sold, you can lower the price down until you find something comfortable in the market, or until you have a following. I should probably do some Instagram and things of my artwork for the cards. I have not gotten into that yet. Again, I'm just new into the printing. It's only been a year or 2, and we just started online selling last year for some of the artwork like this. We're gearing towards, as I said, the models and things like that, the resin kits. I'm not going to show the resin kit until it's completely done, because we're worried about people copying them and things like that. Resin kits, you really want to be the first to the market, and what people do is they'll buy your resin kit and then cast a copy of it and then try and sell it and beat you to it or mass produce it or whatever the case may be. So you got to be cautious on a lot of things like that and make sure you're covered with trademarks or copyrights and things along that line. So I'm not going to show it until it's finished. Right now we've got our model, the toy model kit done. The item itself, we've got the stands already made. It's going on a wood base and all hand done. And we're just really working on getting paints of the item done in different versions of the paint to include for the artwork on the actual box. And the printer who prints our cards is actually printing a top card for the actual box illustration cover and for the inside insert for it too. So it's relatively cheap these days to do this kind of stuff. You just have to have just basic talent. You can even do digitally produced artwork and sell that online just as easily as you can hand done. I like to do the artwork by hand, execute it by hand physically rather than digitally. I do some digital work too. And, I've used CorelDRAW, I've got Illustrator, Photoshop. Most of the Corel programs I do own a copy of, and you've used them religiously for years for many aspects, personal, private, business, for friends and things like that. But that's just a little bit of our business. With artwork this year, it's not a huge chunk of our business, of course, but again, each little aspect adds to our overall sales. One of our companies only makes just under $5,000. That's the printed aspect of it, but all we have into it is an hour or two for an illustration, and then I crop it, do the back artwork on it. This is a signed one, but I do the back artwork and lay out the back, and then it's sent to a printer, and then it's just one listing. That's it. It's a quick, easy, simpleton thing. The models we're making about that too. So all in all, just between models and just the postcards, we're doing almost $10,000 a year in increasing to our sales goals. So, we've got the eBay sales. I don't count my artwork in my eBay sales. For the most part, it's not all tied to what we do on the main account I show. But some of the other artworks and things we do, we count separately. So again, that's about 10 grand we did just in artwork. And that's just a little part-time, a few minutes here, a few minutes there. It's not my full-time. It's just a minuscule amount of what we do, and that's what you need to do. You need to get a few items that you can make routine sales on, and then once you get that item going where you're constantly selling like the postcards, 1 or 2 a week, every single week, then I do a couple more postcards, or I do a couple more pieces of artwork, or a couple more items that should sell. And if a postcard doesn't sell or a piece of artwork doesn't sell once you get your money back, just pull it off. Do a different one. Use that money and reinvest it. When we started with the printing ads, I used our first initial investment, and then I never had to invest another dime into it. We used the profits from that and kept rolling it over. It's a slow process. You're only going to have a few cents profit each time if you're investing enough to print the next card and the next card. But we got to a point once we hit a good card and one that kept selling, then that was enough to finance card after card after card until we hit another card, and then we had 2 cards that constantly sold, and then 3 cards, and then 4 cards, and then 5 cards that sold. So again, this is a couple-year process that it takes to get to that point. But once you do that, you get people selling for you, and then you can sell them locally as well too. But that's the 2 businesses. We have a model line that we run, and then we have a printing line that we run too. So printing is mostly postcards, and the modeling is mostly the model stuff. I've showed the clown and some of the other figures that I've done in one of my other videos. I'll attach a link here to the clown video, and you can kind of see the resin kit there. And I'll attach a link to my other video of some of the actual figures we make too, so you can kind of get a gist on what we do. We do what would be considered outsider art, or kind of the outside alternative, people would say. For me, it's just I like odd stuff. I like weird stuff. I'm a more Tim Burton-esque type of person. I've talked about it before. We worked at Disney when Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas came out, and we got to play with the sets and the maquettes and the figures and the actual physical sets that they used to make the movie, because they had the premiere there at the park when we worked there. We've got, we met a lot of the people who worked on the movie, cast members, and we got some cast exclusive, watches and, giveaways that were only available to, crew and cast because of that. And, I've got some autographs and things like that. But I love the outsider, the oddball stuff that the mainstream not necessarily likes, but it sells very well. It's like the Dunnies and the Funkos and all that kind of stuff. That's the kind of thing that I like. I don't collect any of that kind of stuff, but I do like it. Love looking at it. I love watching the videos on the making it and the customizing and all that kind of stuff. Tested, if you don't watch Tested, Adam Savage's Tested, that's the kind of things that we get into. I like science-y, and I've always been a nerd. I was a nerd in grade school and high school. I used to do my own animated movies with my parents' 8mm camera. I took it apart and fixed it so you could do one frame at a time advanced, and that's the kind of things that I've always done. Always been considered somewhat of an outsider. Nowadays, that's not outsider, that's the mainstream, it seems. But I've always been into this kind of oddball stuff. Dragon Con is the bomb. Comic Con, any of the local ones, the anime, some of the anime is okay. I'm not huge into the anime itself, but I love the whole atmosphere, and we dress up, we do, cosplay to many extent. I've shown photos of those in some of my videos as well too. This past year we all did a Clockwork Orange. I've got all the costumes. We made them ourselves. Suspenders, the white outfits, and the hats, and the whole works, and the whole family, the 4 of my main family dressed up as that. Maybe I'll show you a couple photos here of that. But we enjoyed it. It was fun. We enjoyed our time. That's what we do. And that fits into me doing artwork. And again, every year with artwork, just like my eBay business, we've increased 15-20% over the prior year. Every single year. So as we do it, we increase our business as well. We look at the art businesses. Eventually, it's going to take up, $15,000 in sales. Hopefully this year is what our goal is. And then the next year, $20,000 in yearly sales. 25, 30, 40, 50, and on up. That's our goal. We've got a goal in every department, every area, every business. The 3 businesses that we have currently, we have goals and what we want to do each year. And it's worked for us. We've set the goals, and I work hard at it. When I'm not doing eBay, I don't take much time off. We have taken a little bit of time off recently and had somebody mailing some items for us, just to enjoy ourselves a little bit. My son got out of, he is now out of the community college. He went to community college to save money. He got a scholarship, so he actually earned $1,000 per session. So he earned $2,000 to go to community college. So it worked out great. And now we're free for a little while here. My youngest son will be graduating from, he'll be a junior in high school this coming up year after in the next month. And we'll have some time, and you'll see some of the other things that we do and get to meet some of my workers, because they're going to be here way more than they are now, and our sales should start to increase. Summer for us is when I bring more people in and we blow the labor out. I might lose a few bucks in labor, but we've got just item going up constantly. I might have 3 people listing for 8-hour days constantly for weeks throughout the summer. And usually it's paid for by whatever goes up that day. Usually I'll sell some of that enough to pay for the shift and then still make a profit. So that's why I don't worry so much, and we run it. Our sales still go up through the summer, even with me blowing labor through the roof on summer, just because we're listing so much items through the summer. The best time to do it if you have younger kids working for you, teenagers and stuff. And that's another reason why we have so much back stock. It's not a dead pile, it's back stock. Because, I buy it, as soon as the kids go back to school, they're going to be slower, not going to be able to work as many hours, and I need to have enough merchandise to run the entire summer. 3 months worth of merchandise, 90 days worth of merchandise is what I look for. So I can run 3 straight months of listing without even having to go out if I don't want to buy items. So, that's just a little bit about our business for artwork wise, and a little bit of what we look for and what we're looking for in the future from us. So hopefully that gives you a little idea of what we do, and maybe something you can do on your own. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't, and tell a friend.